Algorithm is an artificial version of God because it changes how you think and behave and act. And if you outsource God, now you're being a shell of yourself, almost like a robot. So the more algorithms you follow for the sake of liking and engagement, the more you are hooked into these manufactured versions of God, because it changes your behavior. And now, because you're so hooked into the social media algorithms, that's just Instagram. Now there's TikTok. Now there's Snapchat. And all of those have different algorithms. All of this is being paid for to steal your soul from yourself. Where people go wrong is...
Garrain Jones is a transformational leader and a best-selling author, helping people reconnect with their true power. From surviving the streets to inspiring on global stages, his story is proof that mindset can change everything. Hey! Hey! Woo! Okay, now we're ready. Okay, are you ready to dive in, sir?
Yeah, I've been ready.
Yes, you were sharing with me before the podcast started about what's alive for you recently. I love to start with what's alive right now.
Me?
Yes.
No, me.
Oh, I see.
I'm alive right now. Every fiber of my cell is alive right now. My dream that God has given to me to be able to support humanity into the resonance of their own truth is alive in me right now. Me being present in my body is alive for me right now. And little Garrain, who has given himself full permission to be what he's always wanted to be, which is a superhero, saving lives all over the world.
Yes, sir.
Stronger than the average man with abs like an action figure.
Yes, sir.
That's
yes, sir. That's beautiful. Thank you, dog. I was really inspired to do this. I saw one of your posts recently about your journey, and I've known about your journey since I think 2019.
Yeah.
Funny, I didn't actually know who you were at first. I was listening on an audio podcast, super inspired, and then just, I think 2 years later, I saw the face. But you've had this extremely strong connection to what you do and why you do what you do. Mm-hmm. And I think everyone feels it. And yeah, I just think in the coaching space, the transformation space, you kind of stand out, with that. Even though most coaches are pretty heart-oriented, I think generally, maybe not everybody, but yeah, you really stand out in that way. And I want to touch on that because there's guys watching that they're stuck in a story of victimhood. They're stuck in an environment that's really challenging. Some of the guys that follow me, like we're talking some of the deepest, darkest places that I get DMs from guys like, help me, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And you can reach them because you've been to some of these depths. So perhaps we could start just real quickly, if you would, with why it is that you do what you do as Garrain Jones.
Yeah. In 2013, I was that guy that was in my deepest, darkest place. 2011 is where I started my spiritual journey, or the elevation of my spiritual journey. But in 2013, it was when I no longer wanted to live a lie and then put myself out there as a mask of what I think you think I should be, or overcompensating in areas of my life. And I remember hearing a song by Rihanna called Living a Lie. It's like, we out here living a lie, and I couldn't get the song out of my head. And I'm like, damn, I'm literally lying so that people can see me the way I think they should be seeing me, instead of just showing them who I really am. But at that time, I was living in my car. I was $250,000 in debt. Well, I was just coming out of that, but no one knew that I was living in my car.
Yes.
So finally, I went on Facebook and I said, you think you know me? You have no idea.
Yes. Yes.
You know this, and this. But what you don't know is I'm living in my car. I'm sleeping on bubble wrap. I can barely afford food. I've cheated on every girlfriend I ever had. And so this was my coming out party of being an image rather than being myself. The first message I got from somebody was, thank you for your strength. I put the gun down after I read your testimony. It was in that moment, I had no clue that how we've been brainwashed as little boys,
Yes.
boys don't cry and all this other stuff, vulnerability is weakness. I had no idea. But then you look, 78% of men, out of all suicides,
Yes.
it's 78% men.
That's right. Yes.
And I didn't know why. I knew in that moment that I was holding ancient years of pain. And I was probably the first person in my entire family history, in the entire lineage, to learn that vulnerability is actually a superpower. So
Yes.
when I did that, my whole entire world opened up. My coaching program,
Yeah.
the money, the influence, it was, you can benchmark it to that exact post of I don't care what my mom says, my brother, nobody in my family, because if I have to live another day drowning in approval,
Yes.
it's not, none of this is worth it. So this is what started because that first message saved somebody's life.
Yes.
And the fifth message, I was on my way to drive my car off a bridge and someone sent me your testimony. Thank you for your strength. It saved my life. And I was like, my story, me being honest can save a life?
Wow. Yeah.
From that point on, I just kept sharing stories. I didn't know it would take me to 97 countries all over the world, speaking to close to 3 million people and coaching some of the top
Yeah.
CEOs in the world right
Yeah.
now. I had no idea. That was just the seed.
Yeah.
And if you look at an acorn, you can look at it and be like, you'll never know if you didn't know what oak trees were.
Right.
That the magic that's inside of that contains all of that in an oak tree.
Yes.
That was the seed of realness and the seed of authenticity that opened up to the life that I'm living right now.
And is the authenticity and the realness, you said that was the benchmark when, everything changed.
Yep.
Was it the authenticity and the realness? And was there also a part, because you mentioned the text messages, was that also a part of it too? Like this felt sense of service and feeling called for something higher than yourself? Or was it really the authenticity that opened
that time? I didn't even, you can't see the picture while you're in the frame.
Yes.
So I didn't even have
Yes.
the knowledge to know that was creating that. So I couldn't even think like because of that.
But what, looking
It
back?
was connecting the dots looking backwards.
Yeah.
That was,
Yes.
because anything you do is cause and effect.
Yes.
So me being real saved a life.
Yes.
Oh, well, let me just keep being real.
Right.
And then lives keep getting saved. And I wasn't even thinking about money. And I just
Yes.
kept doing it. And all of a sudden, my mom gets better in the hospital. She has a year to live. Now she's still here 15 years later.
Yes. Yes.
And so I'm looking at the span of my life of being a devoted husband, a devoted father, which is very rare in this day and age.
Yes.
When I look at the scope of my life matched the seed of authenticity. So my friends went out, who I thought were my friends, because they were connected to a fake person.
Yeah.
So when I became real, it had to reorient. So at first there was nobody, and then all of a sudden the alignment sent out a completely different signal in the world, and that signal brought in real people.
That's gorgeous.
Yeah.
That's gorgeous. So for the guy who's in a similar situation, you said you broke the generational line. Is that right? You were the first in your family to do a lot of this cool shit?
I'm guessing.
Yeah.
I don't know my entire ancestral lineage, but
You're just gonna hold me back like 1,000 years ago. Just went.
What I do know is epigenetic coding passes down.
Yeah.
And there's nowhere that I can look where there was a radically embodied, liberated person as a man in my family. There was drugs, there were alcohol, there was cheating, all the infidelity and everything. I'm the one who broke that.
I see that. So for a guy who's in that situation, what gave you the confidence, or from a limited mind would say audacity, to say, I'm going to be the one to do this. I'm going to be the one to make this change. Even if it was in your, maybe, I think was fitness your first push?
Health and fitness.
Yeah. So to go into that, I'm going to better myself.
Yeah.
What gave you the confidence to do that? Because I can imagine some guys it might work for Garrain. Look at how cool he is now. Who am I to say I should go out and become as amazing as you are?
Yeah. The community that I was around.
Yes.
That's when I realized the power of community is the power of the resonant field around us. That's
Yeah.
why they say you are the five closest people who you surround yourself around. I was around people who were healthy, who were they lived a healthy, active lifestyle. They did personal development every day. They were always building people up.
Yes.
You become what you see, but not just what you see with your eyes. You have eyes on the inside, which is called insight, which can be influenced by the vibration that you're
Yes.
in.
Yes.
So just by immersing yourself in that community, you
Yes.
become the sum total of the field of frequency that they're in.
So is it important enough to get into a good community to like go, like if you have no money or some guy out there has like $1,000 or $2,000 or something like that, is it worth it for him to like spend that money just to get into a better environment?
100.
I couldn't agree more. Yes.
Yeah, because it was that community that I saw how people did something different.
Yes.
I didn't hear them gossiping and tearing people down.
That's right, yeah.
I heard them talking about dreams and what they were going to do, and I saw them achieving dreams. I was like, well, shit, I want to do that too.
Yes.
And quickly,
Yes.
because
Yes.
of how I immersed myself. I was just like, well, I'm all in on whatever this is, but I was like, there's a part of me that wants to run away, but some other part of me
Yeah.
is saying stay.
Yeah.
The more and more I stayed in the environment of growth,
Yes.
I just kept growing with the environment.
Yes.
And I've never looked back since 2011. Since 2011,
Yes.
I've always made sure that I was leading, learning simultaneously. So I have a group of people where I am leading.
Yes.
And then I'm always having mentors and
Yes.
masterminds that I'm
Yes.
in.
Yes.
Where I'm like a kindergartner where there's scholars in there. So
Yes.
that I can, everything I learn, I put inside of everything that I do. So that cycle just keeps going.
Oh, so one of my favorite feelings in the world is to just like be there with all these smart people and just like have my notebook. One of my literal like top 3 experiences of life. I see the value in that, and yeah, it's a different mindset. You know, it's a different mindset than being in the limited mind, 9 to 5, $1,000 in the bank. It can feel very difficult to get out of that for them in their world. And I struggle with that, you know, because I found it difficult. Maybe I'm too attached, but I found it difficult to accept that.
Except what?
Accept that they don't want to like go do these things and like come to even like a free event or something like that,
Yeah.
just to get in a better community.
Well, I'll tell you, I really do give people the credit of doing the best with what they know how.
Yeah.
And if I see that, oh, they just don't get it, and I was like, okay, so how can I develop the aspect of my leadership to get to the point where I can embody a resonance that bypasses the brain. That's all resonance does. You can play a song,
that
and
right?
you don't even have to think about it. All of a sudden you start dancing to the song.
Yes.
So if you focus on resonance
Yeah.
rather than well, I think they should do this, all of a sudden you bypass the part of their brain. That's why I can stand on a stage with 70,000 people who
Yes.
don't even know that they're about to sing. And the number one fear in the world is public speaking.
Yeah.
But what they fear more than that is public singing. I can stand on stage with 70,000 people within 5 minutes. I can all have them all harmonizing because I get into the resonance so fast that they don't have enough time to think.
Yes.
It's the same thing when it comes to embodied leadership.
Yeah.
So I will speak into the resonance of the wisdom of their body. And then all of a sudden they were like, yo, something shifted when you spoke. I never do linear based training.
Yes.
It's all embodied leadership.
Yes.
Because the wisdom is not here.
Yes.
This is just somebody with a great memory. The wisdom is here.
Yes.
And so with people that are like that, you got to think in terms of pianos. So piano's a bunch of keys, but it's energy, frequency, and vibration.
Right, right.
You don't have to be a musician to know when somebody can't play the piano.
Sure.
But if somebody's playing and there's one note off key, that doesn't make it a bad song. It's just surrounded around the wrong combination of notes.
Okay.
And then all of a sudden, that one off note becomes a beautiful song. I look at people the same way because a key has on a piano is energy, frequency, and vibration.
Right.
Humans have energy, frequency, and vibration. So it's the same thing, just knowing how to surround it around the right combination of thoughts, the right combination of words,
Yes.
the right combination of energies.
Yes.
And in the right combination of energies, that's why when you can relate to someone,
Yes.
it automatically changes the frequency field in their body, because the relatability automatically causes safety in the nervous system.
Yes. Yes.
That's why I always tell my story. So when I see that, I'll say, okay, I'm probably speaking linear. Let me find another way. Like when you're working out in a gym,
Yes.
and then the trainer goes, okay, I'm gonna work the same muscle, but to do a different exercise.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
the same exact thing.
Yeah.
That's why I build such huge communities, is because I know how to take all of these notes,
Yes.
which are people
Yes.
from all these walks of life,
Yes.
and then merge them together, because I'm focusing on the feeling, and
Yes.
I'll morph into whatever. I'll do whatever I've got to do to make sure that I can bring in the resonant field of having people feel like they belong.
Yes.
And in the frequency of belonging, which is what they
Yeah.
trying to separate us.
Yeah, yeah.
That's why it's like, oh, they got us fighting each other because your skin's white, mine's black, and it's like fight.
Yeah.
Because what would happen if we actually came together and discussed ideas and learned from each other's differences? They probably couldn't control that part through fear.
For sure.
So I look at that as someone else. They don't feel like they belong yet. So let me bring you into the womb of belonging.
That's beautiful. And you've mastered this process for sure. I see you as a master. I see you as an embodiment of greatness. And I'm not trying to just say that
Yeah.
I really feel that with you. And, you're further ahead on the path than I am. I see myself as good, sometimes really good, but I'm not great yet. And so to be able to be around this energy
Yeah.
is beautiful. And I want to be able to transmit this to some of the guys, because I didn't just want to talk about trauma and healing. I actually wanted to talk about practical stuff when it comes to mastery and business.
Yeah.
Because one of the biggest causes of stress and shame with men is actually money.
Yeah.
And so you have money, money that the guys watching this would like to have themselves.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that for a second. Which do you think we should talk about first, mastery or money? Like what do you focus on first if you're a guy?
Well, one, you focus on resonance. And what I teach is, if I play this song and it's just this horror-like song, you'll feel something in your body. You won't even have to think about it.
Yes. Yes.
Okay? Because most people don't even know why they can't keep money or grow a certain level of financial wealth.
Yes.
So if you don't know, that means it ain't here. That
Yes.
means it's something that you can't see. It's in the non-physical realm.
Right. Right.
Just like resonance. You
Right.
can't see it, but you can see the effect of making bad decisions.
Right.
So what I'll do is I'll train the part of you that you can't see.
Yes.
And so I'll just play 5 different songs. I'll play Queen, Bohemian Rhapsody,
that song.
and I'll say, pay attention to your body. What does your body naturally want to do? I'll play Don't Worry, Be Happy. What does your body naturally do? And then I'll play some trap, hip hop music. What does your body naturally? The more that you can train on what you feel
Yes.
and what it's telling you to do, now you're not relying on someone outside of you to influence your words when your word is right here.
Right.
And so I will train on resonance, because if you don't know how resonance actually works,
Right.
well, then you'll make a bunch of decisions based off of what you think you should do when your wisdom is actually there.
Yes.
So I won't skip this step, because I want you to keep your money and grow it, and not be
Yes. Yes.
someone who wins the Powerball for $15 million,
Right.
and
Right.
then a year later they go bankrupt.
Yes.
They go bankrupt because they didn't know how to operate in the capacity that can hold the field of that level of frequency. All right, cool. Well, let's teach you about frequency then,
Yes.
so that you can sustain it. And
Yes.
so that's why people get love and they lose it. They get money and they lose it, because it's the reason why they call it currency, current.
Yes.
It's all frequency.
Yes.
And so when you can understand how to be the grounding rod for a specific kind of frequency, there is an abundance frequency. And so teaching people how to tap into an abundance frequency. Here's an example.
Thank you.
I always find ways to serve without any type of exchange of money, because money by nature is flawed, because the origin of money was all about like rape and pillage and all this. This is the origin of it.
Okay.
So just even accepting and giving money is taking you away from the truth of how nature works. Nature's
Right.
always
That's right.
giving and
Yes, that's right. Yes, yes.
so your breath, always giving and receiving, the waves in the ocean, there is a natural energetic exchange.
Yes, yes.
Where people go wrong is, I will do this if you give me this much money. And if
Yeah.
it's a gift
Yes.
that God has given you,
Yes.
that means your gift is for sale, but you
Yes.
got it for free.
I never thought of it that way.
So my gift, Garrain,
Yes.
what I do for
Yes.
humans,
Yes.
that's why I do all these breakthrough coaching.
Yes, yes.
It is for free.
Yes.
Now, I've created programs
Yes.
where I can put my life force into this. People charge for that. But
Yes.
my gift,
Yes.
this is what people they're not taught.
Yes.
My gift, I cannot charge.
Yes.
So that's why there's no amount of money that somebody can pay me
Yes.
for how I give my gift. In any room that I go to, whether I'm speaking to a homeless guy,
Yes.
whether it's a high profile, I'm going to always be my gift, and my gift is not for sale.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
That is where everybody gets it wrong.
Agreed.
And so people will say, oh, I just got a raise. Now you're about to really see what I can do.
Right.
Now, I don't want to stop on this because this is a very powerful conversation.
Agreed.
Now we'll just stop. USA.
Okay.
On the dollar bill, it says, in God we trust. And over the White House, it says, in God we trust. Well, I know NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. They don't want you to really believe that they trust in God. What they're doing is they're putting it on the thing that you want to believe as God. So that in God we trust. So now people get all bent out of shape when they get happy when they get money, and they lose
Exactly.
happiness.
Yes.
Why? Because you've been programmed that God is the dollar.
Wow.
And it's the same thing with the government, because you've been programmed
Wow.
that the government is God.
Yeah.
That's why they put God on the dollar.
Yeah.
So all of your emotions are for sale.
Yes. Yes.
So if your emotions are for sale when they were given to you for free, it will distract you from knowing how the rhythm of nature actually works. So when I was just giving and giving and giving and giving and serving and giving, I never had in my mind, when is it going to happen for me? Because something was happening inside of me as I was giving, and it was pure.
Yes.
When it's natural and it's true, in the giving simultaneously as the receiving.
Yeah.
They work hand in hand together.
Yes.
So you might miss the receiving
Yeah.
because you're focused on the money,
Yeah.
but you miss the fact that your mom was on life support and all of a sudden it's a miracle. You're missing
Right,
all
right.
of these things because it's the rhythm of how nature works. God doesn't pay in dollars. God pays in the abundance of nature. It's the nature and the fruits of your life.
Wow.
Humans created dollar.
Yes.
So when I teach you resonance, and then I teach you how the flow of nature works, just like how you breathe. It's always giving and receiving. But you're not going to say, hey, when is it going to come back? There's a natural part.
Yeah.
So when you're in service and you're giving, I was giving for 7 years and I was just serving. Yeah, will you come and do this? Yep. But the whole time I was doing that, I was developing, I was learning, I was asking questions and all this. So by the time I got on stage, they're like, yo, how did you get this good the first time you're on stage? Well, I was serving for 7 years and I was building my reps. I didn't build my reps the first time I got on stage.
That's right. Yes. Yes.
So there was a giving and receiving, even when breakthrough coaching. I'm working on my reps.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden, it's just like, damn, Garrain, you can work with everybody. Then all of a sudden, people are like, yo, I've never met a coach
Yes.
that is so diverse and can work with anyone. They're like, how'd you get that good? I say, you see the way that I show up? I'm training every single day,
That's right.
all day long.
Yes.
There's no aspect that says, well, when is it going to come back to me? Because it's already happening.
Yes.
So bringing people into the understanding of how nature works. Now, the last piece is in most places in the world where money is printed from paper. Paper comes from bark. And we're taught that money doesn't grow on trees. It actually comes from a tree.
Yeah, literally, yeah.
Because bark produces paper.
Right.
So if you can look at a tree and be like, oh, I love nature, and be like, oh, I have money problems, you'll see that it has nothing to do with the money because that is directly coming from that tree.
Yes.
It's a worthiness problem.
Yes.
So the moment you can say, oh, I love myself to the overflowing of abundance, that is going to feel different in resonance in your body. Now you match that with the ability to value create and understand how to anywhere you go, you're creating value. You go to the church, you go to your mom's house, you go to your brother's house. You're like, how can I leave this place better than how I found it? Whether it's cameras or no cameras. Matter of fact, the cameras are dangerous. It's what they don't see. When it becomes a part of your nature, you will always be abundant, including money, which is the least of all values, because then you can look at the whole spectrum of somebody's life. And that's when I can always know if you just have money, you have no relationship with your family, I know where you're overcompensating. If you just have family and you can't figure out business or you have a shitty relationship with your wife, I know what's happening. You're at the juxtaposition of not being able to realize that you are the funnel that needs to be overflowed through. So now you're overcompensating in these other areas. And you hide in those areas when this is the real thing. So I go through this whole blueprint. And then someone's whole life must change because that is the promise of how nature works. When all of the flowers bloom, they bloom at the same time.
Whew. Beautiful. Thank you for that. Wow.
You're very welcome.
Yes, thank you for that. That's okay. So I was so inspired. I had to like keep my mouth shut during because there's so many things I wanted to come back with.
For sure.
So you've actually touched on the idea of purpose and have given me actually a new reference point for what purpose means with the language of resonance and everything you just described. And so one of my, honest to God, fucking favorite moments was, I think 2 years ago, it was like 6 months out of a breakup. Taught me how to love myself, side note, through that breakup. Be there for myself on a deeper level. But I went to a club. It was my brother's birthday. I don't go to clubs. I haven't been since I was like 17, 18 years old. I let go of all that. But I went out and it was great. And we had a couple shots, had fun. It was really good. And I totally let loose, not because of the shots, but just totally let loose on the dance floor. And there was these like 20-something-year-old girls or whatever that were giving me attention. And that was my oxygen for a lot of my life. And then there was this other guy, this probably like 28-year-old Indian guy with glasses and a beard, and he was kind of standing off to the side, like wanting to dance. I could feel it, but like he just couldn't give himself permission in that moment. And so I just felt this moment of like, to go get the approval from those women felt like this in comparison to going in what I felt like my purpose was in that moment, which is I brought him onto the dance floor. And actually brought one of the girls over and danced with him. He had this ecstatic experience at night.
Beautiful.
The look in his eyes, I literally had to pause dancing. I was just crying on the dance floor, holding my inner child, just so proud of him, especially after going through this breakup, feeling like not worthy and all this stuff came up. Oh my God, I got chills in my body now. And this is the type of experience that I call purpose. It was not for the money. I didn't need the money. I just was there for that. And so I want everyone to have that. Now I get to experience that all the time. That experience of just giving and just, it feels so good and it's pure and you know it and it's not of this. And I just want more people to experience that. I've always been about following your heart and purpose. But what I'd like to do in this conversation is make that journey or that search as quick as possible for people, in as much control as we have in this life. How can people, men watching this, practically start to tap into their gift and discover what that is?
So there's two things. So mission and purpose are two different things. And so my mission in the world is what I'm up to, and awakening the artist inside of the adult, so that the little kid is actually happy and
Yes.
using the creative arts
Yes.
to tap into their inner liberation and like be able to experience their potential power. That's my mission.
Yes. Yes.
My purpose is a completely different thing, because
Yeah.
when I look at birds, they fly as high as they can, as far as they can. And I look at trees, they put their limbs out as far as they possibly can, up as high as they can, produce as much fruit as possible. I heard this from Jim Rohn and it blew my mind, and put the roots down as far as possible. So if we're a human nature and we're just operating from the nature part, could my purpose be to grow to my max, just like the birds, who doesn't even know it's a bird? It's just too busy being what it's called to be. So I'm going to speak into mission,
Okay.
less purpose, because my purpose is to grow and evolve
Yeah.
as much as I possibly can, so that I'm on nature's timeline and not human timeline. Now, my mission
Yeah.
gives me a chief aim, and my purpose is to grow and grow as
Yeah.
that version inside of my mission.
Inside that container.
Yes.
So it's kind of like Eckhart Tolle has this great line. He says that we have an inner purpose and an outer purpose. Your inner purpose, he says, is to awaken to the consciousness within, to awaken to what you are. Your outer purpose is something that changes. At one point in your life, it might be to make money. Another point, it might be to be a father, an amazing father. And so that's what changes. And it kind of sounds like that's what you're talking about
Yeah,
with mission.
yeah.
It's like that's the outer purpose, the way that we express. But he says your inner purpose is primary. That's your primary purpose. And everyone has the same purpose in that sense.
Yeah.
And so to me, that's kind of what I hear. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. It's saying we just arrived to it with different language.
Yes, yes, yes.
And so what I would say is oftentimes you're given something early on.
Yeah.
I feel like every human came to this earth kind of like a USB with information already stored on it.
Yeah.
And you put that USB into the overall computer system, and it makes the computer system even better. And it uploads this information.
Right.
So when I look at my daughter, who's 3 years old, when she was 4.5, I could play 10 different songs, and naturally her body would move, and she had better rhythm than most adults that I know. So I could already tell
Yeah.
that dancing was something that was connected to her.
Yeah. Yeah.
So to be able to catch that,
Yeah.
I don't know what that's going to grow into. But I know that whenever she's dancing, she's in a completely different state. Now, my son, Chief, completely different. He can dance and he'll sing, but there's something about outside. When he goes outside, he is in another, I can't explain it, but there's something about outside, and this doesn't happen with soul, that he is more comfortable outside than he is inside, especially in the heat. And it was like that when he was a newborn. So
Yeah.
I already know that
Yeah.
there is something connected to that.
Uh-huh.
I feel that whatever's already inside of you, there is a mission associated with that,
A specific.
a specific something.
Okay.
And so for me,
Yeah.
it was all about expression when I was a little kid.
Yeah.
It was all about. And then I got shut out of so many things. Garrain, be quiet, be quiet, be quiet. Don't sing. You're too loud. You're too this. But it was like more than most people around me. So my whole entire life,
Yeah.
my truth and my authenticity has been shut down. I've been ripped off of stages. I've been thrown into prison, thrown into jail, kicked out, broken up with. And then once I got on the other side of doing whatever I got to do to create the safety that is needed to share what's actually true for me, I realized what my mission was. And so I got the things that harbored me as a child.
Yeah.
On the other side of that, revealed to me my mission is
Yes.
to bring people who have gone through that,
Yeah.
which is been silenced, being shut up, their expression down. They don't know how to speak. They don't know how to open up. They don't know how to embody their truth, because that's what I had to go through.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden, once I was clear on what that was, magically my company, Artist Power, just was uploaded inside of me. And they were like, yo, how'd you get so good? How'd you do $2.7 million in 6.5 months with a retreat center? That doesn't even happen.
Yeah.
No paid ads. Like, it was clear there was something
Yes.
beyond me that was of me that came through me.
Yes.
And I was like, what is it about Artist Power? I've been trying to get on all these major podcasts.
Yeah.
Why is it the week that I just started talking about Artist Power, Ed Milet wants you on his podcast. This person, boom, they want you talking about Artist Power, and nobody knew what it was.
Wow.
So my whole life was learning about all of these forms of power, all of these forms of control. And my processing, the way that I oriented all of these different, I was in the music industry, I was in the acting industry, I was in the entertainment industry, I was in all these different industries, and I saw how power and evil and control, and I saw how it all works. So it's almost like there was something guiding me to get in far enough to see, and then all of a sudden my company's called Artist Power.
Right. Yeah.
It's another form of power.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, wait, no, my mission was guiding me the entire time, and I didn't even realize it.
Yeah.
And so when I started to be like, oh, wait, this has actually been a part of my life, my entire life.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, I'm meant to do something like this. Soon as I said, I'm meant to do something like this based off of what was already in my life, that's when the title came. So it was almost like this cosmic version of myself, this multi-dimensional version of myself knew the entire time, but it needed me to know in this 3D that this was connected to everything that had like good thing that had opened up in my life. And the moment that happened, boom, Artist Power created.
Yes. Yeah, it's badass. And so for a guy who wants to have that experience, who's like, that sounds magical, because it is magical. It sounds magical. What does he need to do? Like heal his trauma? Like, does he need to face himself?
No, you do whatever you got to do to learn deep trust. So if that means release trauma.
Yes.
And that's one thing I also want to say. When you say the word trauma, the body tenses up. There's an actually easier way to release that energy, because there's vibration underneath every trauma.
Yes.
I know this as a musician. That's why you play a high enough frequency, it'll crack a glass. It's all vibration.
Right.
Inside of every trauma, which is stuck energy, that's just bound vibration. If you find the right frequency, it will unlock that. This is what I do at my retreats. So I watch it happen, and you don't have to go through all of that, because music doesn't work that way.
Okay.
Because music bypasses the brain.
Right.
So when you're dealing with trauma, it's like you're thinking story, this, all that, and the body's not used to it. But music instantly goes right into the body.
Right.
So with the right training, that's a whole nother story. But this is when I'm speaking of trauma, is doing whatever you got to do to learn how to deeply trust yourself. Accept your entire lineage and everything that they've ever done. Which if you got European background, you already fucking know it. And because it comes with colonialism and all that other stuff. But there's people like, but I'm not like that.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
While their DNA is still inside of you. However, if you accept everything that they did,
Yes.
through the full self-acceptance, you'll transcend and you free them, and all of a sudden you become a liberated person. And this is multidimensional training, because the moment you deny, their DNA is still trapped.
Right.
But the moment you accept, you transcend and you free.
Yes.
And so accept your entire lineage, cultivate deep trust, deep self-acceptance, and really learn about resonance. Because the moment you can trust what you feel, That's the thing that's connected to the little voice. Because when you can trust that, what you think is little now becomes do this, do that. It's never a little voice. It's just surrounded by things that you have never trained inside of your body. If you can focus on those four things, this world as you know it will completely transform itself based off of the experience of what you feel.
Yes.
The world's not round. It's not flat. It's multidimensional.
Yeah.
75% water in the world, 75% water in our body. We're created in God's image. Well, what's the resonance of God? Could it be the earth that they try to colonialize? Why is it 75% water in the world, 75% water in our body? Why do we feel so good around nature? Be something to look at. So I would focus on those four things.
Just say them all one more time, if you would.
Okay. Deep trust,
Trust,
self-acceptance, and
lineage.
learning to accept your entire lineage, good and bad.
Yeah.
Yep. And then learning how to cultivate the resonance in your body.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so that's the first, it was called that the first step.
Yeah.
So I asked you about money and mastery.
Yeah.
And you're like, we got to go resonance first, baby. So you just laid that out for us really well.
Yeah.
And by the way, if you don't know, if you're like, how do I accept myself? Like ask ChatGPT, like, or go reach out to Garrain or watch his content. Like if you don't know how to, like, I believe you can study your way out of anything.
Here's what I'll say.
Okay.
If you find yourself day to day, and I wouldn't use ChatGPT on this one because you'll edge out your intuition. What we want to do is develop your intuition.
Okay.
If you find yourself saying, "Oh, I'm not worthy of this," or "When is it ever going to happen?" Stop and say, "I accept this part of me." And anything that is not of the highest light that you have in thought, words, or actions, train yourself to stop yourself and say, "I accept this part of me." Because it happens every day, all day long. We're just not consciously aware. Oh, you see somebody operating from the power that you haven't accepted inside of yourself, and you're judging them based off of your own lack of self-acceptance. I accept this part of me. It's that.
Yes.
That's what trains the muscle.
Yes.
Every single day.
Yes.
So that's how you train it.
So correction, do not go to ChatGPT for this. I love that. Thank you. So we're talking about, that's the first step, is cultivating these four pieces, is self-acceptance, self-trust, heal the lineage. What was the fourth one there?
Develop the capacity
for
to
resonance.
understand resonance.
Yes, that's right. That's right. Okay, so that's the first step, is resonance. Now, so do you see the process working like, okay, so I see this person, let's say they've nailed those first 3 to 4 things. Like that's an awesome person.
Anyone who nails that
Yes.
are worlds apart from anyone who hasn't.
Yes.
It's worlds apart because their energy is different.
Yes.
You got to understand the reason why they use the word currency for money is because the original banks were along the river that flowed along the water. Currency.
I didn't know that. Oh, okay.
Yes. So you understand it flows just like water.
Right.
So you understand the give and take of water. So if the currency, if your energetic field is blocked, now what happens is you create a dam. I'm going to keep it all to myself. And I'm going to keep it all, the spiritual dam on your life.
Yeah.
There's no possible way. You'll get it and lose it. You won't even feel yourself worthy enough of it. So you understand how water works.
Yeah.
Water is always giving and receiving. It's always flowing. So whatever you got to do to have that sense of flowing in your life.
Yes.
So flowing in your business, flowing in your partnership, flowing, like what creates aliveness? And when you have that, now it's all about value creation. You don't get paid for time. And this is what people think you.
Yes.
Otherwise, I can just go smash my fist in the road for the next 2 hours and be like, where's my money? That's work. I've been working.
See how hard I'm working out here? Come on.
This is basically what we've been brainwashed.
Yeah.
Think value creation. In the same hour, why does somebody get 10,000 hours? Does somebody get minimum wage? Minimum impact. So if you can think adding the most value to the marketplace that's connected to the most people, those are people who make the most money and keep it.
Yeah, yeah.
So if you think value creation, they're like, no, but the divine, and I want to do this thing, you're going to reach 0.00000.1% of the people.
Right.
Where's something in the marketplace
Right.
that is missing?
Yes.
Observe the masses, do the opposite.
Right.
So and while everybody is focused on OpenAI, ChatGPT, and they're selling out, they're completely, and there's a place for all of it.
Yeah.
I've been taught by one of my mentors, see the spots that people are missing. You know what's missing? Human connection.
Yes.
You know what's missing? Intuition. Why? Because they're outsourcing God. And if you outsource God, now you're being a shell of yourself, almost like a robot.
Right.
Now it would make sense why some people are paying trillions of dollars dehumanizing actual humans and humanizing robots, because when you're in the vicinity of one of them and you're not operating from resonance, you won't be able to tell the difference. Oh, I'm very clear on what is going on. Now, I see what is missing. Resonance. That's why when anybody writes me a message, you come on my Zooms, nobody can use nobody can use the chat note taker.
Yeah.
No, I want you to take the notes.
Yes.
I want you, what naturally comes up, because it's training. It's training your intuition. What hit you? Not to just grab it because you're being lazy. No, but I got it this. No, whatever you catch is what you're meant to catch.
That's right. Yeah.
So what I see is missing right now, while everybody's this is the same thing that they did. This is the exact same thing that they did with the, what is the little video game type things where people were spending.
For like a long time ago?
But it was this little.
Tamagotchis?
No, the ape thingies.
I don't know what that is. Ape thingies? I don't know that.
Like Logan Paul, and then he spent like $2 million on this one thing. It was these like little.
I don't know what you're talking about.
It's connected to the okay. 2 years ago, there was a fad of all these people having these little character-like things, and it was worth a lot of money.
Okay.
The fad came and went.
Right.
And now even Justin Bieber, he had something that was worth this like little digital character, this digital thing. Paid $2 million for it, and it grew up to $40 million. The thing is $125,000 right now. So what I'm referring to is what's missing is life. What's missing is human connection. What's missing is intuition.
Yes.
Because the more you outsource it, the more you're giving permission to something else to direct you and be your God. And it's no different than in God we trust on the dollar, and in God we trust on the government. So it's outsourcing something else as your God.
Right.
That's what's missing. So I'm 10xing down on what's missing. I'm 10xing down because they're selling themselves out to it. They're like, no, but you can do it in 2 minutes. Yeah, you can do it in 2 minutes. While I was creating music, because I just went back full time to my music, they're like, no, but you can do this in 5 minutes, and it can do the whole process for you.
Yeah, I see.
In 1 month, I took myself through the process. I cried, I cursed, I wanted to quit. And I realized everything I've ever tried to avoid in my entire life showed up between the MIDI keyboard, all the wires, all the softwares. And it was directly connected to what I was avoiding in my marriage and parenting and business, because how you do anything is how you do everything. I was like, oh my God, if you outsource the process of learning, can you imagine if a baby outsourced the process of learning how to walk? This is why we don't give the babies walkers, because we want them to develop the muscle on their own. And they wonder, like, how are your kids so coordinated? Because they develop the muscle on their own. That's what's happening, and that's what's missing. So I'm doubling down on what's missing, and this whole world is open up for me.
Wow. Well, first off, congrats on going back to music full time. That's awesome.
Full time.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Wow. How long has it been since you were full time?
Since 2009.
Wow. What was the inspiration to go back to it? Has it been calling you for a while?
Well, it's been haunting me for a while, and I avoided it because of one negative thing that happened to me in the music industry. And I just kept playing this game called "Look at My Life." I don't need music.
Yeah, yeah.
Meanwhile, I had little angels in my life, friends, saying, "Hey, whenever you're gonna do music?" I'm like,
Yeah.
"That person hurt me. I'll never go back. Look at my life." So good. But there was one point where I looked at my life. I looked at my wife, looked at everything, and everything was perceived extraordinary. And there was one thing that just kept saying, "Hey, Garrain, all of these things are amazing. But the one thing in your life that had never got this version of you is your greatest capacity to create, which is musically." So I finally decided to face the music. And it has opened up a world that I didn't even know existed because I was literally born to do it.
Yeah.
And so when God is revealing through me, the frequency that's going on in the global current in the world is actually down. It's 440 hertz. 440 hertz that's not accompanied with higher frequencies is it's a disruptive frequency for the nervous system, just in frequency alone.
Right.
Music, everything, it's all low, and there's no stories that's bringing people up.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I'm a drummer by nature. I know what
Yes.
I know what sounds need to hit the body, and I know as a wordsmith what words or vowel
Yes.
sounds you need to
Yes.
say in order energy to move. And I know the stories to tell because I'm a global storyteller, and I know what stories really hit people the most. And so God said, "Garrain, with your gift of understanding energy, frequency, and vibration, you're going to use that to uplift and retune humanity back into nature's frequency and not destructive human frequency." And so at this time, that's what I'm called to do on behalf of humanity. And my one little hurdle, I was like, "Oh, but I'm 45." And my friend looked me directly in my face. He said, "No, Garrain, you're timeless." And I was like,
Ooh.
when you answer to the calling, everything is taken care of. So that's where I'm at right now. And I could have easily outsourced God. Oh, 5 minutes, you get it done real fast. Well, guess what's happening? Here's what's happening.
Oh, that's interesting.
Any change in algorithm on social media,
Yes.
algorithm is an artificial version of God because it changes how you think and behave and act. So Instagram has changed its algorithm 3 times. Oh, quicker, 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 dopamine, 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 dopamine. More dopamine, the less out of nature you are. The less out of nature you are, the more trapped in the field of human-made algorithm. There's a natural algorithm called winter, spring, summer, fall, called patience, called the sun, the moon, the stars, and everything. That is God's algorithm. That's why patience is one of the highest forms of leadership, but most people don't even have it. Yeah, but I'm doing patience. You don't do patience. You are the frequency of patience because now you've tapped into the space of the infinite. So the more algorithms you follow for the sake of liking and engagement,
Yes.
the more you are hooked into these manufactured versions of God because it changes your behavior. And now, because you're so hooked into the social media algorithms, that's just Instagram. Now there's TikTok. Now there's Snapchat. And all of those have different algorithms. So if you got 15 different algorithms that you've got to pattern yourself and everything, now when I come in contact with you, you're not even in your natural algorithm because you spend so much time on social media. And that's when I know you're a false representation of yourself because you're not being guided by God, you're being guided by man. That's what's going on right now, like literally right
Wow,
now.
beautifully said. It's beautifully said.
That's what's going on right now. So when you can bring yourself into the resonance of nature's algorithm, the level of groundedness that you have doesn't have the finicky moves because you are in nature's frequency and nature's algorithm, human nature.
Yeah.
That's the natural part of you.
Yeah.
All of this is being paid for to steal your soul from yourself.
Yes. Yeah. It's extraordinary. Yes. I think about this a lot, and it's, yeah. How do you react to this when you see this? Like, do you get sad? Do you get angry?
No,
Do you get
I
inspired?
creative.
You get creative.
Yeah, because people, they complain, they get angry, and then they'll conjure up this frequency calling fight for freedom. But you don't have
Yeah,
to fight for
exactly.
something you
Yes.
already have.
Yeah. Mother Teresa said, "I'd never go to an anti-war rally, only a pro-peace rally."
You can't fight for something you already have. So in the freedom frequency that I already have, I'm free to create a world where this doesn't exist. And so instead of fighting, I create.
Yeah, I see.
That's how I transmute.
Yes.
That's why some of the world's greatest songs were transmuted, that the sad songs were transmuted through art.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
it reached millions of people.
Million. Yeah. Do you know who? I think his name is Jill the Grid, something like that. He's a dancer. You may have his. I gotta show you. He's an incredible dancer, and he said something at this workshop that he did last summer. He said, hurt people,
Yeah.
or hurt people create art." And it always just really touched me because I'd always heard the hurt people, but then to be creative with that, to make art with that, everyone in the crowd like cheered, and it was an awesome moment. And it touched me so much because I think I've just tried to avoid, like most of my life, I spent my life avoiding my feelings,
Yeah.
not wanting to be vulnerable even with myself, let alone with another man or woman.
Yeah.
And to just know that something good can come from that, I think helped me not have the same resistance to feeling so deeply.
Yeah.
And allowed me to build the capacity to actually feel what I felt.
Absolutely.
And so perhaps, because this is extremely important, perhaps you could share your process or a process you'd recommend for people to transmute.
So I'll share with you right now. So I recently fired somebody from my business. And that someone I gave an opportunity that most people wouldn't, that's in the place that I'm at, because he needed an opportunity, somebody to take a chance on him. And the part of me that took a chance on him, which I didn't realize, was the part of me from when I was homeless that was like, I wish somebody would take a chance on me. So my energy wasn't clean, because the part of me that was taking a chance on him was the unclean part of me from the past. I'm not surrounded by these energies. There was just a part of me that was attracted. So I said yes to something. My values, my actual values, would not give an opportunity, because I know what that is. So I went against my own judgment, which is going against my inner voice, my truth, my resonance, my intuition, for the sake of the past version of me being saved by me. So I didn't even know I created all that.
Yeah.
Blew up in my face. All of a sudden I was like, why do I feel unworthy? I was like, where is that coming from? So I had to do some digging, and I was like, oh, that was the part of me that said yes. So in that unworthiness, I had the node to lash out on social media about this person. And I was like, no, that's what most people would do. So I went to my music, and I went and found a sound that was this low guttural sound. And I was just playing around with different sounds in the MIDI keyboard and Logic Pro. And I found this. And as soon as I pressed that on the MIDI keyboard, I was like, oh my goodness, it's stirring something up in my soul, because everything has a resonance.
Right.
Everything.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, so let me play around with some other sounds and see what happens in my body. And bum, 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 bum. And then I played that, and I felt the energy go. And so I started building these world of sounds, and I'm watching this energy go. And then it left. And then all of a sudden I came up with an idea for a song called The Rhythm of Nature, that's teaching how I went from the poverty frequency into the abundance frequency through a song.
Does it take you
with
from
100%?
That's so cool.
When I created the music, and I literally healed myself through creation. That's nature's promise.
Yeah.
God is the greatest creator of all time. Just look at the heavens and the moon and the sun and the stars. That system. It's like, why you talk about business? God is the greatest business person of all time. Because a great
Facts.
business person
Yeah.
is install a system
Right.
and keep duplicating that will outlive
Delegate authority, baby.
100%. I'm like, that's great.
Yeah.
I want to study that.
Yeah.
So when I pan out, look at everything, and I was like, oh, so anytime we create, the great creator says, allow me to co-create with you. So it's not just you, you're tapping into the multi-dimensional part of you created in God's image. And it's the God image version of you that's creating. That's why you can transmute through pain. You can transmute joy.
Yes.
Why? Because in creation, it can transmute all of those things. But when you don't give yourself permission to transmute, what it does is it comes out in unhealthy ways.
Yeah, it's gotta come out somehow.
Murder, porn, alcohol, over-sexualizing, all of that is versions of expression, because at the point of origin, it didn't have a healthy version of it, of permission to express.
Yes.
So it comes out somehow. Now, this is what I do with everything. I'm going through something and I'm just like, yo, that didn't feel good. All right, cool. Where does this, what color do I feel? If I close my eyes, I'll pull out a paint palette and I'll start painting the color I feel, because every color has a resonance. That's why you go down the candy aisle and you get hypnotized. Why? Because your introduction of colors was primary colors as a child.
Right.
Interesting. You go to the grocery store,
I've never
all
thought of that.
candy is primary colors. All Gossip magazine, primary colors. All wine coolers, primary
Holy
colors.
shit.
On purpose.
Wow.
Because they're hypnotizing where you got hooked to begin with.
Fuck.
All of this is connected to scramble your truth.
Yes. Holy shit.
That's why if you focus resonance and building trust, nothing, none of this stuff can steal what
Yes.
is spent trillions of dollars. And this is one of the reasons why ChatGPT. Because the more of God that they can steal from you, the more control they will have. This is why anything that is connected to the actual resonance of God, and we're created in God's image. So if they take your emotions, if they take your capacity to think, they take away your intuition, they take away your brain power, there's no more capacity to use God. They take away your children, they take away
Oh, so true.
public education.
Uh-huh.
Started for factory workers.
That's right.
Factory workers turned to 9-to-5 jobs. The same lights that are in schools, same lights that are in hospitals, same lights that are in prisons. They hook you by assembly lines and bells. It's all the same thing. So it's not designed for the elevation of the human spirit. That's why
Without
they
doubt.
pay elementary school teachers $25,000 and they pay college professors six figures, because you're only going to get a certain capacity of person. And anybody that steps beyond the program gets fired. Why? Because the early stages is where you can install all the software for the child, and adults are deteriorated children. So if you're trained in fear, if you're educated in insecurities and all these different things that hook you, you can be controlled by all those things. Oh, I'm very clear. I am very clear. So I say all that to say this: if you outsource God, that's all you have left. So the more that you can trust, this is what I feel. Let me learn the process, because any process you learn the process of how Earth came into orbit. It's all part of our design, because we're created in God's image, which is why when we create, the supernatural things happen.
Yeah.
This is why all of this is happening, and the easiest way to hook you is with speed. dopamine, dopamine. Oh, it's faster, faster, faster. Oh, I can do it in 2 seconds. What would normally take me 5 days. But if I don't learn the 5 days, then I also don't learn the highest form of leadership, which is patience. And if I don't learn patience, then all of a sudden, I don't have deep, meaningful connections and relationships.
Yes.
Which also means I can't connect with men.
Mm-hmm.
I can't connect with women.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden I'm married. And then while that seed is in the womb, that seed, just like you can structure water, you can structure the embryonic fluid that's inside of the woman. So the woman isn't feeling connection. And if the woman isn't feeling connection, all of a sudden that's coding the baby even before the baby even comes out. So the baby won't even have a fighting chance, because all of this is structured to get them while they're young. And the more people we can get and hook while they're young, now the overall agenda is carried out. I don't see what's happening now. I see the long term.
Yeah. Yes.
So I don't focus on speed. That's why it's like, how did you get so far so fast? I never was focused on fast.
Well, it's interesting because you also have a very high energy, and I think more so in your older videos. So in prep for this, I watched some of your older videos as well. Your energy was higher than it is today. You've grounded since then. And I've heard this great saying from a business owner. He said, patience in the macro, speed in the micro. So like getting stuff done day to day, not like procrastinating, but like facing what you got to face, getting it done, doing it with joy. And so what's does that resonate with you? Patience in the macro, speed in the micro?
Well, it's less about the words and more about the resonance.
Right.
Because even you using human language is already separating you from your original language, which is sound, frequency, and vibration.
Right, right.
Even in the Bible, it says, beginning, there's the word. The Greek meaning for the word is energy and is vibration.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's cool. Okay.
So just you using given human language
Yes,
is a separation of the truth.
100% agree. Yes.
The universe doesn't speak English. The universe speaks resonance.
Yeah.
That's all frequency.
Uh-huh.
So I don't think in terms of finding the right words, it's, oh, I feel truth. Oh, I feel truth. And have my investor friends say, yo, you are the luckiest investor I've ever met.
Right.
But I don't invest in people and I don't invest in products. I invest in resonance. And because my channel is so pure, I know the resonance of truth. So when the resonance of truth is speaking, I'm going to always be a yes. And it doesn't always speak. So everything has a resonance. One time, I had a high rise in Santa Monica, and they wanted a tenant to be in there and pay this money while they were drilling the entire time. And I was like, this fucking people, I'm so annoyed. And then all of a sudden, it turned into when I got beyond the annoyance, the resonance, and then I also wrote a song.
Yes. Hey.
And you can always come back to that. So if you know resonance inside of everything, don't focus on everything, focus on the resonance. And then that will give you the clue of what's inside of everything.
Yeah. So it's interesting. If for everyone who's listening, watching, paying attention to this, nearly every question I've asked, Garrain's brought us back to resonance. And I want you guys to consider why that might be. I feel very inspired listening to this. This is my resonance. I feel very inspired. So we've talked about, so funny how these flow. So we talked about money, mastery, purpose. It's come back to resonance. You've talked about value creation, focusing on what does the marketplace want but doesn't know how to get, and creating something of high value. Now let's move into some of your, if you would, personal rituals around. I'm huge into rituals, especially for the important things.
Yeah.
That's why I wanted to dance before this, for example. That's a little ritual to get in state, for example. So, time. There's only so much time in the day and in the linear mind. And yeah, I'm really fascinated by maximizing it for a father. I want to get into some fatherly advice too, because there are a lot of fathers watching this too. you're a father, your husband, you're podcasting, you're coaching, you're doing full-time music, which I have no idea how you fit that in, honestly. What's your relationship with time? And how do you think about priority? How do you prioritize? Like once you know what's important to you, how do you prioritize that in a daily, weekly piece, or do you go 90 days out? I'd love to hear a bit about that.
Let's talk about time.
Okay.
What really is time?
Yes.
So, our calendar right now
Yes.
that we all follow is fake. It's a glorified marketing plan. That's why you're always celebrating something every single month. It's a glorified marketing plan.
I never thought of that.
You know, it's literally a glorified.
Yeah, I see that when you say that. I see that.
It's fake. I'm gonna tell you why. There's daylight savings time.
Right.
There's the Gregorian calendar, there's Chinese New Year, and there's all these different things with these different times and dates.
Right.
Where'd the fuck that come from? There's one calendar of events that happens without fail every 28 days. And that is the cycle of the moon, God's creation. Every 28 days. And you know what's crazy? The woman's womb is directly connected to it. So if you take not man's calendar, God's calendar, every 28 days, and that means there's no longer 12 months in a year. That would mean, wait a second, that the new year would be somewhere around when the flowers bloom. That would make sense. Oh, April Fools. Glorified marketing plan. And we wonder why. January. Oh, it's like, it's my year, my new year. And they charge it with all this energy 2 weeks later. Why is it, where did it go? Or maybe you're off the natural algorithm. Maybe if you start learning and studying nature. Why do they call LA 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 Land? Why it's all these homeless people? Why there's no seasons inside of LA? So you don't see winter, spring, summer, fall. So you're not even trained in the algorithm of nature of how to even adjust. So people can adjust. That's why there's more broken relationships than anything, because there's not even adjusting to growth. It's people stuck in a pattern because there's nowhere where you can even see the algorithm of nature's pattern.
Nature, yes.
Now, that we come to this thing called time.
Yes.
There's time.
Right.
And then there's the space of the infinite.
Right.
Where time doesn't even exist.
Yes.
When I was 32 years old, I looked like I was almost 50.
Right.
And then I saw a lady who was 103 years old who looked like she was in her late 60s.
Right.
And I said, how come you don't look so old? She said, old? Age doesn't make you old. It's when you let your life beat you down and you're doing things that you know you don't want to be doing and you do them anyways. When you're in jobs you know you don't want to be in and you stay in them. Relationships you know you don't want to be in, you stay in them. She said, you know where wrinkles come from? I said, where? She said, when you do something you don't want to do and you stay in it, it weighs on your spirit and your soul starts to sag.
So true.
Because the body keeps the score.
Right.
You just don't know how energy works. So it's not the fountain of youth, it's the fountain of you.
Yes.
And so now I'll be 46 in a couple of months and I look younger than I did when I was 30. So it was never, I reversed. People are like, oh my God, you reverse age. I was like, no, nature has an age for you. Even using the word age is actually casting a spell. Nature has your natural evolution process. And then humans
that's so genius. Yeah.
have your
See that.
aging process.
Right. Yeah.
So when I'm speaking about time, I don't operate from the same time as everyone else. So like, oh my God, you wake up at 4:20. It's not the fact that I'm waking up so early.
Yeah.
I'm matching the algorithm of when the moon is out and the sun comes up. I don't turn on the lights until nature's light comes up.
Do you wake up naturally? Or do you don't set
I've
alarms?
trained myself.
Yes.
I trained myself not knowing. It was like, oh, you wake up this time, you go this time, and sleep is for suckers, and all these different things.
Okay.
There's an algorithm for human, and then there's nature's algorithm.
Right.
So knowing that I have kids, knowing that I have a wife that wants a present version of me and not a depleted version of me,
Absolutely.
what time can I wake up where I can get a solid 2.5 hours
Yeah.
of play, of pray,
Yes.
of singing,
Yes,
of
sir.
working out? So I came to around about 4:20 was the sweet spot
Nice.
where I can wake up and I can play and pray and drink my water and I go out and run.
Best
Now,
ever.
the secret is there's no lights on my street.
Oh, really?
So I don't need a light.
Oh, that's cool.
So I go out, and when I first went out, I heard all these noises. I was like, oh, what's that? But I was like, what part of me is afraid of the dark?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Because we've been trained that monsters are in the closet.
Right,
and the
right.
more and more I kept doing that every day, every day,
Wow.
all of a sudden I felt connected to all of it. I was
Wow.
like, wait a second. The monster in the closet is actually me. I just never developed that part of me. Interesting. It's the non-physical, the part of you that you can't see. All of a sudden, my focus levels goes up. My intuition levels goes up. My capacity to sustain things over a long period of time goes up. The way that I'm grounding goes up. All these things are like, how do you get the training? You do it through life experiences, or you can actually pursue it. But who pursues the monster in the closet, or what we've been taught is the monster in the closet?
Right.
I get back home, no lights in the gym, complete pitch black. I have to breathe different. I have to breathe presence in my body. I don't know where the weights are, what size of the weight. So I have to,
Oh, so you're doing the, that is
Everything
so
is dark.
cool. Wow.
I don't see nothing.
That's awesome.
So now
balance.
it taps me into, now I understand how Stevie Wonder, who's blind, wrote all of those songs based off of what he's never seen before. There must be a different set of eyes called insight.
Must be.
So I use the physicality to train what I can't see. So the moment when I'm faced with trust, you can't see it. You just got to trust it. Faith, you can't see it. Faith in what you can't see.
Right.
I literally have an anchor based
Yes.
off of what I can't see.
Yes.
Darkness, the monsters, intuition, all these different things come out of darkness. But we've been trained to run away from darkness,
yes.
run away from our shadows. Meanwhile, in nature, you drop that seed into the ground where you can't see. And that creates the rooting process.
Right.
So while you're trying to escape, you're sending a signal of the suffering frequency, not realizing darkness and light is a partnership. Darkness holds down the underground, and your goal is to rise.
Yes, sir.
I use that as a ritual that trains the natural part of my body. Nature, natural.
Genius. I love that. I love the level of intention, and I totally get that. It's yeah. So a little bit different than how a lot of guys are probably thinking about their morning ritual. And so how do they, would your answer to be how they decide what to create as their morning ritual, would your answer to that be tune in and check in? Like, because if someone doesn't have that level, that
No,
depth of
I will
connection-
give you something simple.
Thank
and then just like when you're riding a bike, like there's training wheels.
Exactly.
And then something takes over.
Yes.
Michael Jackson had James Brown and Fred Astaire as mentors. And then
Yes.
something took over and he grew into the Michael Jackson. He didn't start out like
That's
that.
right.
So I'm going to give you training wheels
Thank you.
for your morning.
Okay.
1, cultivate a practice of meditation, and it can be in 5 minutes. Cultivate a practice of deep breathing. That can be even 5 minutes because that's your life force. You're not breathing air, you're breathing in consciousness. That's why when you hold your breath for long
right.
enough and then all of a sudden you like die, there's things still working in your life. That's consciousness.
Yes.
So 5 minutes of meditation, cultivating presence, 5 minutes of breath, cultivating your life force, some type of physical activity, and it doesn't even need to be a lot. It's just moving the body.
Yeah.
So you shake, you do some 3 sets of 50 push-ups or something.
Yeah.
Cultivating that. Get you not a gallon, get you a glass of water.
Yeah.
And when you're drinking, I want you to close your eyes. Say, with this water, I am purifying my spirit.
Yeah.
And drink intentionally. And just allow the intention to purify your spirit.
Yeah.
And then after you've done that, find one thing that you can work on that activates the creative juices in your body.
Mm-hmm.
You work on that for 30 days, you will not, for a week, you will not be a different person, because the resonance in your body, it's, when a car drives, all the cylinders are activated.
Right.
So you will activate mind, body, soul, heart, and spirit
Yes.
inside of you
Yes.
with those things.
Yes. And does meditating, Garrain, cost any money?
No.
No. Does deep breathing cost
But
any money?
you will have to pay a price, though.
What's the price?
Your attention. Your energy is worth more than your money.
Mm-hmm.
No, but I can't afford it. No, but you can. Oh, you sure can. I don't have enough time. Well, you got to pay attention to the time that you do have. If you got 2 minutes, you can meditate for 2 minutes.
Exactly. Yes.
So everybody's going to have to pay something.
Right. Okay, but not necessarily money.
No.
So you can pay someone to learn how to meditate. You can just, but there's so much free stuff. So what I'm inspired by, I'm like, in my body, my heart's just like, because I want to see people do these free, accessible things that nobody can take away from you. And especially no one can take, you're there with yourself. You can sit and be present. You can breathe. So powerful, 5 minutes. This train of thinking. So I'm thinking of a person who's inspired by this and imagining them 90 days into doing this.
Yeah.
That one morning ritual, the morning starts the day, it sets the tone. And so
why would you drive a car and not warm up the engine? If you can see how valid that is.
Yeah.
And that's just your car.
Yeah.
Well, you're 1 trillion times your car. So why would you just get up and go and you wouldn't rev the engine?
Right.
Before you settle into the drive of the day.
Yeah. Anything else you have on this idea of time and how guys can start to structure their days so they can? It's so funny. I'm watching my language now because I want to be in line with what you're talking about here. But the language I would use would be, how do I, as a guy, start to maximize my time so I can kind of start to move more towards
so here's what I would
proper
do.
evolution.
You can focus on 20 different rivers, or you can focus on the Pacific Ocean that is feeding all the rivers.
Right.
And by the way, the ocean has way more power than the rivers. So we're just going to focus on one thing. Resonance. You structure whatever you got to do to build the most truth in your body. I feel the most alive. And it's different for everyone. That's why you can't give a one certain thing. So you might got 6 kids, you got a job at this. Configure whatever you need to do to have the most aliveness in your body for the longest period of time.
Love it.
And however that is, if the aliveness is not there, that means the universe is calling you to reconfigure. So you have a new kid, or you used to be single and now you have a partner. You're always going to have to reconfigure, but that's part of the process that allows you to continue to evolve.
Yes. How would they tell the difference between aliveness and, say, pleasure or a dopamine hit?
So aliveness is, say, for instance, you go to a family reunion and all your family's there, and your grandmother just cooked your favorite meal. Not everybody else's. They cooked your favorite meal. And then a song comes on the radio. It just happens to be your favorite song. And your grandmother cooked your favorite meal. And then after that, she was like, for nobody but you, baby. And then she starts dancing to the song and asks you to come out there. What you feel in your body is aliveness.
Yeah.
Right there.
Yeah.
That's how you can tell the difference.
Okay.
Now, seeing this hot girl and everything, and
Yes.
that's the pleasure part of you.
Yeah.
Aliveness can evoke pleasure.
Yeah.
But it's so limited
Yeah.
to who you can be coming from the deep well of the Pacific Ocean.
Right.
Why focus on the river when you got the power of the whole ocean that can feed all the rivers? That's why I can write a book, be a father, do this, do this, do this, have several seven-figure effortlessly because of the energy that I hold. Businesses sit on these boards of 8 different multi-seven-figure companies as a strategist, do all this and never lose myself and maintain peace in my body. And the moment I step off, I have a practice that gets me back on the horse. How do you do all of that? Because of where I'm focusing from. I'm not focusing on all that. I'm focusing
So true.
from the overflow. So everything outside of me is getting my overflow, not my exhaust.
Okay, so this is because you're helping me understand why I get anxious or overloaded or overwhelmed. Overwhelmed, I think, is the word that resonates with me the most. Like just this feeling of like there's so much to do, and it's because
And the moment you do that, I'd say, hey, breathe. Then I say, what is it that you really want to do? And it will always come up with an answer. Because anxiety is doing too many things at one time
1,000%.
without being grounded.
Yes.
The breath automatically brings you into the grounded state.
Right.
What is it that I really want to do? Boom. You do that, and then that opens up the pathway to aliveness.
Yeah, so beautiful. Is there anything alive for you right now with this conversation that you feel like I didn't ask you, we didn't touch on?
No, what's alive for me right now is us leaving here and knowing that whoever watches this is going to feel that energy. And because I spoke about resonance so much, they can have a new North Star. What's also alive for me is witnessing you in the beginning. And now experiencing your grounded presence now.
Yes.
So I already know that that's working. And what's alive for me is realizing this aspect of how I can be a stand for men even more, because I never taught resonance to men. I taught resonance to a lot of women because there's the ones that just kept showing up. And I was like, I know who I can be for men at this moment in time because they get their soul in with sports and fighting and all this other stuff. But all of that is on purpose to steal this part of the man so he can't critically think.
That's beautiful. Thank you, by the way, for sharing that with me, because I felt nervous before this, and I felt kind of just like, wow, this is a lot of energy, and I wish I would have taken a breath and just honestly presence what I was really feeling. I didn't. I honestly felt like I had to be like this put together podcaster.
Yeah.
But I really appreciate that. Thank you. I certainly.
But I also want to acknowledge you because what you just did, what you even just admitted, you just modeled what it looks like to be in responsibility, which is something that 99.9% of the men lack. At the highest office, no one knows how to take accountability. So what you did is you, in a healthy way, as two brothers, as two men,
Yes.
I don't see myself like this.
Yes.
I'm just here with you.
Yes.
You just took responsibility, which teaches them that out of everything that I taught, you taught the most powerful lesson right now. And they got to see it in real time. It's not about I'm this person and you're that person. This was, we transcended the construct. And this was just two brothers holding space for one another. And now we're meeting each other in the space of right here and not here. And now you just modeled that. So the whole lesson was that right there.
Wow. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, I love this. I really love men's work and brotherhood. And thank you for holding me in that and for bringing your presence. And yeah, I'm really inspired by vulnerability, but I'm afraid of vulnerability. And so to be able to do that and to be seen by you feels really good. So thank you very much.
You're so welcome. And people out there right now, they're like, yo, that's how you do that. especially with people who are inspired by you.
Yes.
Because typically when they see you on,
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
now when they see you in the state of humility, they're like, oh, he does it too. That's 100x than anything that you can teach, because now you're modeling what you're teaching. That's powerful, bro.
Oh, I never thought of it like that.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's why whenever I'm in those spaces, bro, I'm full send. Nose, crying. They're like, wow, even Garrett? I'm like 100%, because I'm here for growth. So I'm not going to limit myself from the opportunity when it presents myself for the sake of saving face.
Yeah.
It's important that you see that I'm one of you.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Is there a message that you have to the men out there from your heart for, the masculine men out there in this day and age?
The EKGs of that come from the heart is the most powerful frequency in the world. The less of your heart that you use, you tap into a manufactured version of power. The more of your heart that you use, you tap into nature's version of your innate power. And you just can look at it because you can see it's like the archetype for a tough masculine man is tattoos, muscles, and a beard.
Right.
That's literally a character. And this is not to point something out. That's the archetype. And then all of a sudden, you have, even in the trans community, the men that get tattoos, muscle, and a beard. That doesn't represent the man. That represents the archetype of someone who 78% of people in the world commit suicide. So if you associate yourself with a man, and this is including the trans community, I want you to listen to me loud and clear. The archetype is fucked up. Period. All you have to do is look out in the world. 78% of men included in all of suicides. Quadruples women. So we're not headed in the right direction. And who's to say what's right and wrong? But I will tell you this. When you use the full range of your heart, the full range of your heart, meaning your heart to create, your heart to love, your heart to be vulnerable, your heart to connect, your heart to do whatever you got to do to protect and provide for your family, your heart in leadership, your heart in severing ties and letting people go. When you use your heart, that is your spiritual GPS system that can take you anywhere without losing a sense of yourself. If you have that, as long as you use that, and this is for anyone that says, I am a man. Do not sell out to what you think a man should look like. Use your heart and allow that to be your inner compass, and that will gain access to your actions, thoughts, and words. And you might disrupt anything that they say, oh, that's not a man, that's not a man, that's not a man. Well, men, 78% killing themselves. That's not a man either. That's a construct. That's a human-made construct, probably on purpose. So what I would say is follow your heart, and the rest of your life will follow.
That's super beautiful. I feel like we're coming to a natural close pretty soon. I just want to end with some advice for the fathers that are watching. You mentioned that patience was the core value, or the number one value of an embodied leader. What would be 2 or 3 more qualities of an embodied leader for these men to focus on, and how does that show up or look like in fatherhood?
Personal example. People don't do what you say, they do what they see. They respond to the energy that you hold, even if you think you're hiding something. So porn addiction, drug, alcohol addiction that you think you're hiding from your kids, they actually can feel all of it, even though that they can't articulate it. But it's getting into the genes of the vibration of the house. So even what you think you're hiding, on and off the court, it's who you be that holds a resonance, that speaks frequency, which is the language of the universe, that taps right into what's going to shape and mold your children.
Yes.
So being the most powerful example of who your daughter will marry one day, the highest representation, or being the most highest representation of who you will hand off the baton to your son. And you don't even need an outward example. You can just look at yourself in that lens and align your actions with the most powerful and highest representation. And that puppet master of your multidimensional self is going to guide your wisdom, your thoughts, your words, and your actions. That, and then the last one, you can't hold people to a standard they don't know exists. And you won't know what that standard is until you have them for yourself. That right there is the inner skeletal system to fathering the next generation of women, the next generation of men, and bringing in the next generation of family in your household. That's what they fear most. They fear people know who they really are. That is the most dangerous person on the planet because they can't be controlled. So imagine a father who knows who he is, a mother who knows who she is. They give birth to a baby, and that's going to reverse engineer the engineering that started the whole process to strip us away from our natural selves to begin with. So they'll tempt you with money. They'll tempt you with alcohol. They'll tempt you with a good time. That's all dopamine, dopamine, dopamine. So if they can hook you with all the dopamine, 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 quicker, quicker, faster, 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 it will take you out of nature's rhythm. And if you're out of nature's rhythm, you won't be able to see anything because the sleight of the hand will be going so quick. Your processing speed will be so disrupted. You won't know when you're being lied to, saying that you're living in a free country when you're actually in a dungeon that you've been enslaved in since the beginning of time.
Yeah. So thank you. I think we should end with this piece here. Just before we close out, is there any place? I mean, there's certainly people that will be inspired to connect with you more. Where should we send them to learn more about what you do, aside from your social media?
Yeah, you can send them to GarrainJones.com.
Great.
And of course, my social media at Garrain Jones.
Yes.
Garrain.Jones. And any program that I do is going to come from the resonance of everything that I shared today. So even if you hear the word artist power, the artist is the little kid who remembers. And when you can unlock that true memory,
Yes.
it unlocks a power that no one can control. And this is why little kids have all this energy and all this creativity and all this wonderment and everything. That's what they're afraid of the most. So if you want that part of you to truly be unlocked so that you can remember, not play to escape or work out to escape or listen to music to escape, all of those to remember, your next phase of life will surpass 1,000,000,000x anything that you could fathom with your human linear mind, which we were trained to be linear in elementary.
Okay, beautiful. So definitely check him out. If you feel even slightly called, go find the social media, go click those links. I want to just say thank you to you, brother. Wow. There was a speech you gave on stage years ago when you were accepting some award, I think for an old company you work for. You know the one I'm talking about? And in part of that speech, you shared how grateful you were for your mentors. And that's what you are to me. And you embody that, you live it. I just want to say thank you so much for being you, brother.
You're so
I
very
really
welcome.
appreciate you.
Yeah, you're so very welcome. And I receive that. I don't take it lightly. And for you to be a leader of leaders and then just be in the frequency of humility. If you see something, say something. I know so many people who feel what you just felt, but they'll never say it because their ego won't allow them to say it. So I just want to acknowledge you for the work that you've done to be able to say what's true for you and not like hold that expression back when it's actually true for you. That's how we get to those next levels and dimensions, is by listening to the voice when it says, here's what I feel. Because the universe doesn't speak in human language, it speaks in resonance.
Resonance, yes. That's definitely the word of the podcast for sure. Thank you very much. And thanks for everyone who's tuned in and used your valuable time and attention. We love you lots, and we'll see you soon. Peace.
Let's do it.
Rock and roll. Thanks, brother.